Okay, guys, I'm going to give you another demonstrations with professional responsibility. And I hope you will find this very helpful as well. Again, I'm using the same principle, the 12 principle of recalls, to remember a large volume of information. And I'm doing this not to impress you, but to express upon you what is possible. Okay, so professional responsibility, it is one subject that is, and I know that is guaranteed to be in your exam. Okay, it will be there. There's no if and but about it. So it makes sense that you know this subject cold, you know this subject in and out, and there's no mistake about that. Because if you know one thing, you know this, that professional responsibility will be in your exam, right? Okay, with that said, let's go. Let's go. Remembering those things. First thing first, we create the map, memory action plan. What is our map for PR? I organize this in a sense, again, everything I organize them in a way that is logical, that the brain can follow, that you can remember, that's going to aid your memory. So there are four questions that you must answer in PR. Four questions, okay? There are four. That's it. Number one, becoming an attorney. Becoming an attorney, okay? And once you become an attorney, what must you do? Attracting client. That is your number two. Okay. Becoming an attorney, number one. Number two, attracting clients. Number three, servicing your clients. Okay. And number four, they come to the court and the profession. That's it. That's it. There's our four questions. There's our four fork of the word that any PR questions that you will see next week, a week and a half that's left, whatever it's left for exam, it will be there. Those are the four questions that you're going to be answering. Okay, those four questions are how to becoming an attorney. Once you become an attorney, you must attract clients. You cannot be an attorney without any clients. What kind of attorney will you be? You must have clients. Okay, becoming an attorney. Once you become an attorney, attracting clients. Once you attract clients, what do you must do? You must service them. So that's your third step, or your third fork of the word, the servicing your clients. And number four would be decorum to the court, right? And the profession. So the way I do it is imagine that there are four trees, right? If you cannot imagine that you are imagining it, that there are four trees in the parking lot wherever you're going to take your exam. Plant those trees right there, because that's again going to help your memory. That's a professional responsibility, namely PR will be in your exam. So use the environment for your memory sake, right? The environment where you're going to be. Use your proctor for your memory sake. Use everything, everybody for your memory sake. You know, when you look at something, it reminds you an important issues that you need to know, right? And that way your memory will not be faulted. So I said, imagine you plant four trees in the parking lot where you're going to take your exam. The first tree is the tree of becoming an attorney. The second tree will be the tree of attracting clients. And the third tree will be named the tree of servicing your client. And the fourth trees will be the tree of showing respect to the court and the profession. Yeah? Okay, with that said, then we go on every tree now, right? That if you have a tree, the trees have what branches, they have leaves, and so on and so forth. So we have to go to every branches of those trees and the leaves and see what's there. What are potential issues that can be hidden on any given trees in any one of those four trees? Okay, although there are four trees, doesn't sound a lot, but actually PR is a lot because every single trees I just mentioned has a lot of branches and a lot of trees. So some of them have more branches and leaves than other, but we must go to every single branches and trees. So I'm probably gonna do maybe two with you today, since this is a demonstration. It's not made to be um, going on forever. This is just a demonstration. So I want to help you to be prepared for PR this uh, spring. Okay. So the first tree, becoming an attorney. You ask, how do you become an attorney? You already know. You're already an attorney by the virtue of the fact that You're just waiting for your license, but you went to law school, right? You finished law school, you pass all the tests, and now you have to pass the bar, right? That's skills. So you must be skillful. Becoming an attorney requires skills. You must be skillful. That would be the one of the branch on the trees that says you must be how to become an attorney. The very first branch is be skillful, right? Be skillful. The second um, branch is be morally fit. That's why they brought, you know, examiners um, conduct a total background check on you, right? You must be morally fit to practice the bar. And third, you must not advocate the overthrow of the US government. So those are the three things. Those issues are rarely tested, but we go through them for the sake of completion. Um, Maybe in, yeah, they're rarely tested on your on your essays exam. Maybe on the MBE, there will be multiple choice that will be tested, but on the actual essay exam, they don't test how to become an attorney. So we're moving from that to the next trees then. The next tree is what? Is attracting client. How do you attract client? You must do what? You must advertise. You must advertise. And so you are at the center of the bar where you're going to take your bar exam. You are right there and you will see all the students and you want to advertise to them. Can you advertise to them face to face? No, you can't. You cannot advertise face to face. So that reminds you that you can't, by the virtue of the fact that you see a large number of students, you see money, you want to advertise, but you can't advertise face to face. You want to reach out to your cell phone to call and see if you can advertise them. You cannot do that either. So you cannot advertise face to face. You cannot advertise using an electronic device such as your cell phone. What else? Your advertisement cannot be false or misleading. Your advertisement cannot be false or misleading. Guys, where else have you seen advertisement cannot be false or misleading? And then again, I'm talking about seeing patterns, which is one of the principle of recourse. We saw that in con law, right? Con law advertisements that are false and misleading are not protected. They are not protected speech. There will be, they can be regulated, right? False and misleading advertisement in PR and in con law are somewhat, if you will, in PR is prohibited, and in con law will be there is no constitutional protection for false or misleading advertisement under the First Amendment. So you see how I am trying to bring out some of the issues that somewhat related, pardon, that you should see how they we call them issue clustered, but in a whole different subject. Okay, so solicitations and advertisement we just talked about on attracting clients. You attract client by advertisement and by solicitations, but your advertisement cannot be false and it cannot be misleading. Solicitation cannot be done in person and it cannot be done using electronic interactive devices. That means I call you and you respond. You can't do that. But there are exceptions. Okay, there are a few exceptions on how you can basically solicit. You can solicit if it is a former client, right? If it is a former client, you can solicit in persons. You can also solicit if it's a family member, right? And if you set offering services, free services, pro bono services. So those are exceptions where you can advertise face to face, in person, or using the telephone. If it is a former client, a family member, or you are offering pro bono services. In that instance, in those instances, you can basically advertise. Okay. Um, then we're ready to move to the next trees, which is the third tree, is the trees of servicing. Remember, the first tree is becoming an attorney, there ain't that much there. And the second tree is attracting clients, there ain't that much there either. You have to deal with the issue of advertisement there. And the third tree is servicing. Now this tree is full with branches. Okay, we're not going to do all of this, but I'm just going to show you the steps you would go through to go to all the branches and then eat all the fruits on those trees. Okay, would be your issues that you don't leave anything behind. Okay, the best way to see it is to see yourself, imagine yourself on top of that tree called services. Okay, the tree marks services. You are in top of the trees and you need to go down to take your exam. You need to go down to take your exam. There are 8 steps you must take to go down to get down the trees. You are in the tree marked services. That's where you're going to service your client. Okay, but there are 8 steps that you must take. Without those eight steps, you cannot get down. Okay, so the very first steps, you have to see it in your mind's eyes, and you have to spell it, even spell it. That's why I talk about using meditative study. So in that instance, I would have you close your minds and try to imagine it, you going down and spelling the very first word that start with COMPEN. I'm sorry, COMPETENCE, 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 competence. You need to see it. That would be the very first step you would take, right? To go down the trees as you're trying to service your client, to go down to service your client from that tree of service. The very first step you must take is the step of competence. The second step, you see it, actually, it's painted in green. It's all green. What is green? It's color of money. What is that reminds you of? Fees. So that's the second step. You are competent. Now you get paid. Got money. Fees. So that would be your second step. Okay. And all of those steps have different branches. All right. But we're not even going down those area yet. I would have to come back and do the trees of competence and trees of fees and so on and so forth. But for the sake of time, this is what we are doing right now. I'm just showing you how easy it is creating those principle of recalls to remember those things and how they make sense. So the first tree of competence, when you are competent, you get money, you attract a client. Once you get money, what do you have to do with the money? You cannot put it on your mattress. You have to put it in a bank account. That reminds you what? You have to open a client trust account, right? That would be your third step. You're going down the tree still. You take your first step, competence, you see it, you spell it, and then the second step, you see the green color, right? And it reminds you of money, and it's the fees. And we know fees, there are regular fees, there are contingency fees and fees splitting, also on so on and so forth. We're not going to go there now, but I'm just taking you down the step that you must take first. So somewhat in outline format and in logical format, and how you can remember those things without any fault. So you open a client trust account. That's your third step because you got fees, you got money. You open a client trust account. Once you open a client trust account, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You got money. So logically, you have to do something for that money. In exchange for that money, you have to represent your client. How are you going to represent your client? You have to represent them zealously, vigorously. That's your fourth step. Okay. So again, the third step lead you to the fourth step. I don't know if you see the chain, the link that I created out of all those issues. Each one would lead you to the next necessarily. Okay. And that's why you cannot forget those stuff, because once you remember one, you will remember all, because each one is going to lead you to the next one, you know, without any trouble. So we are on the fourth step. That's the step of representations, and you know how to represent your client zealously or vigorously. So then you're ready to go to the next step, right? The fifth step. So the fourth step was zealous representations. So the fifth step, then, in if you represent your client zealously, can you enter? Can you enter? Can you have a confidentiality issue with your client, you can, right? You have zealous representation means you have to keep your client's information in high confidence. So that would be your sixth step, confidentiality, right? Confidentiality would be your sixth step, and your um, and I'm sorry, that'll be your fifth step because zealous representation was your fourth step. If zealous representations or vigorous representation was your fourth step, then your fifth step is confidentiality, right? You have to keep your client informations in high confidence. Okay. Again, this is a branch that has sub branches and leaves and fruits and so on to it, but we're just going to toward this roadmap. In confidentiality, what works hand in hand with confidentiality, right? What you must not do. Confidentiality works hand in hand with privilege. So when you have confidentiality, that should remind you also you should have privilege. There is a narrow distinction between confidentiality and privilege. We will not go there right now, but I'm saying this to remind you why after confidentiality, privilege should be your next step, right? That should be your next step, privilege. And privilege being the sixth step now. We're on the sixth step. We're almost there. We're going down. The only step that remains is the seventh and the eighth step. The seventh step is one of the biggest steps. It must be a very, very big branch of the trees. It's the all conflicts of interest, right? Again, for confidentiality and privilege, those within necessarily. And also, you know that you cannot have conflict with your client to represent your client, zealously, vigorously. You cannot enter into any conflicts with your client, either personal conflicts or that of a third party conflicts. You cannot allow that to happen. So that would be the seventh step. And the last step is withdraw. And that makes sense, because there are two kind of withdrawal, mandatory and permissive withdrawal. If any of those steps we just mentioned is broken, you may have to go back to the tree. You might have to claim back the tree, right? So that's why withdrawal is the last step on my MAP, Memory Action Plan. All right, so that's all I have for you for today. Hope that helps, and you would use the same informations to go to step one, what is competency, and go to all the issues that are there, the leaves or the sub branches on their competency. You do the same thing for fees. You do the same thing for client trust account, zealous representations, confidentiality, privilege. They all have sub trees and I'm sorry, sub branches and leaves and fruits that you need to take, and confidentiality, and so on and so forth, and whether you need to withdraw or not. All right, with that said, I am withdrawn from this. Hope this helps you, and good luck.